Anyone who's ever done anything worth doing has dreamed big, failed mightily, and mostly started from humble beginnings. This is a podcast about such people. The most fascinating podcast in the world is fascinating because of the stories of the human beings. Hello, everybody. Pat DeCerbo, the most fascinating podcast in the world. Nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the people that agree to talk to me. And today I have Frank Gallo. Frank is a good friend who I've known for the better part of 35 years. He owns Frank Gallo Florist in the capital region, Albany, Schenectady, Troy, and the surrounding areas. Frank is a graduate of Mount Pleasant High School and was a quarterback on the football team. Frank's married to Kelly, and between them they have 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter. Welcome, Frank.
Hello, Pat.
How's your day going?
My day's going great. Thank you.
Good to hear. So, as you know, I like to ask people what their earliest memories are. And I just wondered, like, when you were a little kid, what were your earliest memories from growing up?
I think my earliest memories is where I grew up. It was a pretty tight-knit community. There was a lot of kids around the neighborhood. All the parents acted as if they were your parents. So you had to behave, or word got back to your parents pretty quickly. But we were good kids, but we got into our fair share of trouble. But really, my earliest memories was just playing in the neighborhood, playing baseball, basketball, football with kids in the neighborhood, and maybe getting into the occasional scrape or problem, as most kids do as they're young.
Was it Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, yep, yeah. That's where I grew up, and it was a great neighborhood to grow up in. It was a great high school to go to. I thought it offered me a lot. I learned a lot about people and different types of people, and it served me well later in life.
And we haven't really talked much about high school football, but I know you took it very seriously. How did you get involved in football?
Football was almost by accident. I was always playing baseball. That was really my favorite sport. And even through high school, that was still my favorite sport. And I played baseball in high school. But, football came about one day. We were fooling around. I think we might have been in 7th or 8th grade. And I don't know, I was throwing the ball and somebody said, God, you ought to be the quarterback. And I really had never played football. So I went and played Pop Warner football. And it was a positive experience. We had some great coaches there who, as I call, they were molders of men, and they were just really good role models, tough guys, but really taught you the ins and outs, not only on the field but off. And I know that's cliche to say, but to this day, I think back to some of my coaches from Pop Warner High School. So I got involved that way. And, you play, it was a way to be around your friends too. You had that in common. So we all played a lot of sports, whether it was football, basketball, baseball. We were always playing sports. And that seemed to be a bonding thing for me and my friends at that age. And then, like anything else, you have a modicum or mild level of success. It makes you want to do it more. So I really, I did take high school football seriously, and had some opportunities to go and play beyond that. But it just never materialized. If I had to do it all over again, I would have probably did better in school, academically, and taken that more seriously, and that would have helped me segue into college and playing football.
How do you feel your life would be different? Do you feel like you should have done that, or?
Well, I think any of us look at our life at our age and say, okay, what could I have done differently? All right. Now, I wouldn't have the same life experiences that I have had, but I would have different ones. How would it be different? Had I gone to college, played football, Would have gotten a degree probably in some sort of finance because that's what interested me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And probably had a job in some sort of bank or some sort of financial services at some point. And how would my life be different? Well, I think I'd still be similar, kind of the same person,
Mm.
but I would have just had different life. I wouldn't have the wife I have. I wouldn't have the kids I have. So all these things would have been different. So no, would I trade it? No, no, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Who was the coach when you were in high school? The
His
football
name
coach.
was the football coach that was my varsity coach.
Mm-hmm.
Um, was Richard Serapilio.
Mm-hmm.
He unfortunately just passed recently,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a profound effect on me. Taught me a lot. Unfortunately, when you're a young person, sometimes you push against uh, authority figures or people like that, and we had a very difficult relationship at times.
Mm.
I didn't think I appreciated him until I got older, and
Mm-hmm.
we became friends after that. My high school baseball coach to this day is a friend of mine, and I look up to him. And his name is Gary Denola, and
Mm.
Gary was probably more widely known as the architect of some of the Schenectady High School state championship basketball teams in
Mm.
the 90s.
Hmm.
But back in the day, Gary was a baseball coach and had a huge effect on me. He was a very intelligent man and just was a great guy to learn from. So I feel fortunate to have played baseball for him.
Wow. I've heard his name. I don't know if I've ever met him.
Um,
What?
I will tell you, I think he would be a great guest for you actually on here.
Okay.
Uh,
Alrighty.
Really interesting guy. Uh, just as they say, critical thinker. He's
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely that. He would be a great guest here.
I'd love to meet him.
He actually had three sons, all
Mm-hmm.
go to the Naval Academy, and all play lacrosse there. So
Hmm.
people that are unfamiliar with lacrosse, that would be like having three kids go play football at Notre Dame. That's a
Wow.
that's a that's a pretty big deal.
Love to meet him. Um, so during like middle school and high school and stuff, I get the feeling that you always worked. Were you working when you were a kid too?
Not really. That's
Okay.
actually a misnomer. Is that people say, "Oh,
Okay.
you grew up in the flower industry." No, I grew up playing sports. You like many kids, and I hear this very often. You came home from school, you might have had a snack, you went out in the neighborhood, and there were basketball courts and baseball fields and fields that we could play pickup football. And if we couldn't find that, we literally played pickup football in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have been good training as a as a would be football player. You can't get any tougher than getting tackled on concrete. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I didn't. I really didn't do that. When I was in high school, I had a job at McDonald's,
Mm-hmm.
and that taught me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was I think a great training for any young person. It's a good place to start.
Is that where you learned how to cook?
Yeah, no. My wife, my my wife will tell you that I am not very adept in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I like to eat, uh, but I really rely on her
Mm-hmm.
to provide my sustenance. Yeah, she's pretty vital in that regard.
Got it.
Yep,
She's a good cook.
she's a very good cook. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep, yeah.
So when did you start working
In the flower business.
or in anything?
Uh, I would say when I was in maybe 11th grade, I got a
Mm-hmm.
job at McDonald's. Again, a lot of the boys that I went to high school with, we played whether football, basketball, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We It seemed like there was this pipeline of this job at McDonald's.
Which
Uh, it-
one? Which
it's on
McDonald's?
State Street
Mm-hmm.
in Schenectady,
Okay.
and it wasn't exactly close to my house. It took a while to get there. And,
Mhm.
not to sound like, your grandfather, but, we walked there.
Sure.
It was a hell of a walk. And,
Mhm.
and,
Like 2 miles, right? Or something?
more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more than that. And, obviously when I got a little bit older, I had a car
Mhm.
and, we would drive, and we would get rides from guys that did have cars, the older kids.
Mhm.
But a lot of the kids that played sports seemed to have gone to this McDonald's, and that was just this pipeline, and a lot of us worked there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
Is
think we
that the
made
one
about
way up by, Mohawk Mall and State
no,
Street?
no,
No?
much lower than that.
Okay, alright.
This is down across the street from St. Luke's Church in
Mhm.
Schenectady, almost to the intersection of Brandywine
Mhm.
Avenue and State. Uh,
Yep,
kitty corner from Marino's Pizza. A lot of people know
yep.
Marino's Pizza in Schenectady,
Mhm.
and it's over in that neighborhood.
I know where it is. Um, so when did you graduate from McDonald's to the did you go directly into the flower business, or did you do something
No,
different?
no, I did a few different odds jobs and
Mhm.
got involved with I had a couple of different jobs, and then I my dad needed some help one summer with a project at the shop,
Mhm.
and I really wasn't given much of a choice. I had to do it,
Mm.
and I did that in the summer, and that was my first segue into me realizing that this was absolutely something I would never want to do. It was hard work,
Mm.
and it was something that was not pleasant to do, and I was doing a lot of manual labor, and it was like he had said to me, you go to college because that way you won't have to do this for the rest of your life. Um, like many hard-headed kids, I didn't listen. So
Mm.
I, opted not to go to school and thought I would take a year off and be able to go back to some school and they would beg me to come and play football for them. Well, we all learned that, the reality is that you have a window for stuff like that. And I certainly
Mm.
wasn't the most talented football player in the world. I did have some schools that did contact me, and of course the recruiting process back then was much different than it is today.
Mm.
You were lied basically back then about newspaper clippings getting to some recruiter. Um,
Mm.
Today it's all different.
Mhm.
My own couple of my own boys were somewhat recruited to play football at different levels in college, and they have these recruiting tapes and videos and things that are created. So the process is different. And once I think you're removed from that, you're yesterday's newspaper. So
Mm.
that never materialized for me. And then I realized, well, I gotta work. I gotta do something. And I got into a few different jobs. I still had the job at McDonald's
Mhm.
and did that, and then realized that was absolutely a dead end for me. But great job. I think working fast food for a young person is a great start for any person who's going to go and work, whether they go to
Mhm.
college or not. I think it was a great
Mhm.
opportunity for me.
Me too. Although I didn't work at McDonald's, but I worked at lots of restaurants, and just dealing
Hmm.
with the public, I feel like is so there came a time when you were approaching a fork in the road, like maybe
Yep.
to go one direction or another,
Sure.
and one you felt was in your long-term interest is what you're doing now, and the other one, who knows? But, what made you
Yeah.
decide to take the fork
Well,
you took?
I mean, I think I was exposed at a young age to a certain type of lifestyle. People that were involved in things that weren't exactly in accordance of the law.
Mm,
And as a young person, that can be somewhat alluring.
mhm,
That can be captivating. We've seen this in movies, and I think they
mhm,
glamorize all that stuff in the movies. But um, I had a firsthand account of people that were involved in that life,
mm,
and somewhat was being recruited, if you would. You know, do this, we can, and all of that kind of stuff. And you, you, there was something always in the back of my head that said that's not the direction that I want to go into. So the direction was what? Go and get a job somewhere. Or my family had this business that my grandparents had started. It was rather small, but my dad had done some innovative things, which took it from this level to that level. And I thought, okay, well, if he did that, maybe I could take it from this level to that level. And I thought, okay, let's try that, and went into that. The business was such where he said, I have I have the room for you to work 2 days a week. And that's all I could pay you. And I did that and did some other odd jobs, masonry work. I worked for a mason one summer and did some painting. So things that paid the bills. But always in my head, I was focused on growing that business. I always knew that that was going to be the end goal for me.
How big was it when you first got involved? Do you remember the sales?
I don't. They were probably, God, they might have been less than $250,000 a year. So not a very sizable business. It was a business that they made a living at, and they were hardworking people. My grandparents were very hardworking, particularly my grandmother. I would love. I always say this to my wife when I look at our building, which is 10,000 square feet, and we have about 50 employees now, and I always say to my wife, I wish my grandmother could see this, because she would really, really like just be blown away by it. And even my dad at this point, who's been passed, he passed on a couple years ago. I wish he could see where we're at now. Obviously he saw the trajectory that we were on, but in the last 4 years or 5 years, our business has really taken off. So to answer your question, back then it was very small. There was my grandmother, my father, my grandfather was in and out of the business, even though prior to that, he had been in the flower business with his two brothers.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and they had a pretty sizable florist, but like many family businesses, they couldn't get along. And they all split up, and they all went in different directions and got fragmented. Those businesses have since closed over the years, and we're the only one that remains.
Okay.
At this point, yeah. So, they had a very good sized business at one point, but then it got fragmented and it got smaller, and they all went their separate ways and did their own thing.
So you get in there, you're working 2 days a week.
Yep.
How long did it take until it was a full-time job for you?
Probably a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that I was working full time. I kind of weaseled my way in there, so to speak. I tried to make myself as indispensable as I could. So, meaning, what does that mean? Well, it means that I would go deliver. I would clean flowers. I would paint the walls. I would do whatever it took to make myself indispensable or justify my existence there. I was just trying to basically get a paycheck at that point.
And so, was it ever explicitly said, like, you're working here full time, or did you just kind of grow into it?
I think that the latter. I think I just kind of grew into it. It just became, well, we're getting busier and busier and busier, and we need more help. And that's how that worked. It wasn't anything one defined conversation at all. My dad was not a man of a lot of words, so it just was an unsaid thing that you're going to continue to work here, and worked out for me.
So at what point did you begin was it gradual, your management taking over as the manager, so to speak? Was that gradual?
Again, I alluded to my grandfather and his brothers not getting along. I mean, there were some rocky times with my father and I. When you have I'm sure anybody that has had a family business can identify with this. When you have generational differences and you have new blood coming in and you have new ideas, yet you have the people that have been before you, and what they've done to that degree has worked. They don't want to
Mm-hmm.
relinquish.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to accept new ideas. My dad was no different. And that was a cause of a lot of strain for a
Mm-hmm.
long period of time. Uh, one
So
of the
you're
things that
trying to innovate. You have ideas.
yeah, I mean, and I, of course, I thought I was right. I mean, all the
Mm-hmm.
time, it was every argument that we had. I always felt, well, God, he's wrong, and I
Mm.
was right, of course. Um, but one of the things that I started when I first came into the business, the Capital District was so fragmented, meaning florists that were in Troy, it was it was almost like an electric fence. They didn't go to Schenectady, and Schenectady didn't go to Albany, or Albany didn't go to Schenectady, and it was just I felt like that was limiting our
Mm-hmm.
ability to grow the business. So when you look at the Capital District, it's a rather big area,
Mm-hmm.
well over 1 million people. So I thought at an early age, I mean, I might have been 21 or 2. I thought, well, the path to grow this business is to expand and offer our product and our delivery service outside of Schenectady, where we were
Mm-hmm.
initially. So that was a bone of contention. Just to kind of where we are now, most florists deliver throughout the Capital District.
Mm-hmm.
We have a big delivery footprint, bigger than probably anyone. But that being said, that was one of my first uh, innovations, if you would. I don't know that that's an innovation, but let's say it's an idea, was to start delivering and marketing ourselves to people outside of just Schenectady.
Mm.
And that's really had a profound effect on the growth early on.
Mm-hmm. So by the time you're say 30 and your ideas are getting some traction,
Yeah, they
did he
were.
did he loosen up a little?
There was a period of time when he loosened up. We had gone
Mm-hmm.
from one brick and mortar location in
Mm-hmm.
Schenectady to, I think at one point it was 6 or 7 different locations throughout the Capital District. And that was the path to growth was, hey, you open stores. You go to Troy, or you go to Albany, or you go to downtown Albany, or Clifton Park, Saratoga. And we did all that. And yeah, he was loosening up. But then there came a time when he kind of wanted to come back in and reassert himself. And it was great. I welcomed it because obviously, the man has umpteen years of experience and knowledge and know-how, and you wanna embrace that. But we were on a track that he I don't think he was comfortable with, and he came back in. I was probably in my early 30s at that point, maybe mid 30s, and then it became where this path to growth was not necessarily brick and mortar stores, because what I saw this plateauing of sales in the stores themselves. Even though our sales were growing, they were starting to grow over the telephone. And then obviously, with the internet, we started to see electronic sales just go through the roof. So we started to close stores systematically over probably a 10 or 12-year period. And we were down to one store. And we it's funny, people think, oh wow, you're going out of business, and I always say, listen, we do 5 times as much business out of the one store now that we ever did out of 6 stores. um and so that's been our path over the last 10 years, is we've gone to one store. It's a big facility, and that's worked for us.
So you were telling me a few months ago about how a lot of these little mom and pop stores don't really have a way out, like their businesses aren't necessarily very marketable, and that you saw an opportunity there.
Yeah. um you know Fortunately, I belong to this group of larger florists all over the country. We're all in different markets, and we share ideas and we share marketing. Uh, do's and don'ts and things. And one of the things one time came up, do we start buying up small flower shops and consolidating them under your umbrella? And that idea appealed to me, and we started to do that over the years. And it's been pretty fruitful for us because at this point we're acquiring an email list, which is really the thing you want today, and mailing list too. But that's been a path to growth for us, is acquiring these smaller shops. And also, I will tell you, sometimes I want to buy shops because you're buying the ability to maybe get more employees. Because let me just say a commercial for the people I work with for a second. Without the great people that I work with, our business would be nothing. I have some really creative people I work with, hardworking people, and without them, we're nothing. So, people. One time somebody asked me, "What's more important to you, customers or employees, staff?" And there's no question that the most important thing I have there is the people I work with. Customers will come and go. If you can retain staff, and we kind of, I don't know. Today it's almost like a family there. We're pretty closely knit.
That's great to have a group of 50 that.
Yeah, it's definitely a culture there that we all have kind of this common goal of what we want to do on a daily basis, and it's taken seriously by a lot of people there. But to expand on the buying of the flower shops, yeah, we continue to do that. We don't do it arbitrarily. Some we've passed on because maybe they don't have the size of an email list, and maybe their expectation of what their business is worth is a little inflated. We try and be fair, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to our own business not to make foolish decisions. So we buy what we feel is the right one to buy, and some we pass on. Yeah.
And then the marketing is primarily online now. You were saying social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not advertising, and I don't care what your business is, but if you're not advertising or you have a presence digitally today, your business is in tough straits. So, social media, I always have a love-hate relationship with social media, in that it's a lot of work. It's definitely, our social media presence could be better. I think it could always be better. But we work very hard at that, and you have to stage certain things, and sometimes I see these beautiful flower arrangements that are created at our building, and I say, okay, let's get a video or a picture of that, and then the lighting isn't right, and it doesn't look right, so you can't use it. So social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it. But yeah, definitely we have to have a presence there. We continue to evolve on social media and stay abreast of what's new and how to do certain things, because I'm an old guy, so I didn't grow up with social media, and so but you have to embrace it and you have to learn it, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind.
Do you think I should learn social media?
I think you might be a lost cause. I think you might be a little too old to I know you have two young daughters,
right?
Who maybe they would be
they can help
willing.
me.
I think they could. The question is, would they want to?
Right,
exactly. That's the
Can we get along?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
No guarantees.
No, not at all.
So what's your game plan? Like, you're healthy, you're fit, your mind is good.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going in the next 10, 15 years?
That's a great question. My wife actually works with me on a part-time basis, because she's actually a full-time teacher, and she will be retiring in June, and she's going to come and work with us full-time. So I'm really I'm looking forward to that. because I think she could add a lot, take a lot off my plate.
Mm-hmm.
And so where we're going to go is this. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to evolve the business. I had said a few minutes ago how we went from 6 or 7 brick and mortars to 1. We're actually going to start to open other locations now.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to have a location in the next 3 years, one in the city of Albany. We're going to be in the city of Albany. We actually just signed a lease with a new location. We're going to open a location in Troy, and we're going to open a location in Saratoga Springs. These are going to be small stores, but we're definitely going to have a presence there. And we had a meeting this past January with some key people at work, and we were like, what's the objective of 2024? And I said, well, seeming we were already the biggest florist in the Capital District, but the goal for me this year is going to be improve the quality. That's key for me. Is anybody can get bigger. You take a restaurant, for example. They can get busy on a certain night, on any given Friday night. Do they have the same quality on that busy Friday or Saturday night that they did on Wednesday? And that's what I want to do. I want to continue to try and stabilize or keep that high level of quality and service. We didn't mention service, and I think service is a underappreciated part of the flower business. I always tell people, you live in the Amazon age today, where you and I can go online and you can buy something, and in some cases it's there the next morning, and that's something that the flower business has to compete with. So your ability to be responsive, whether the order is generated in store, whether it's generated online or on the telephone, what is your turnaround time to not only get that designed, but then to get it on a truck and get it delivered? And we do that pretty effectively. We have a lot of delivery people, so we have a pretty good number of people on the road every day. Sometimes up to 12 different drivers going here and there. Our footprint. I'll give you an example. Just this past Friday, I saw a delivery in our delivery area for Corinth, Glens Falls, and then Queens. So when you drive from Queens to Glens Falls, that might be close to 2 hours, hour and 40 minutes anyway. And then we go from, say, East Greenbush or Castleton on Hudson all the way to Amsterdam or Johnstown. So we have a pretty broad area of where we deliver, and that's also enabled us to grow. Yeah.
It sounds expensive to drive that far. How do you handle that?
Okay, so one of the ways you mitigate that is obviously you charge a delivery charge, and people I'm in my study group, the florists across the country, some of these guys have up to 10 or 12 different charges. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make our delivery charge standard, and so we charge a standard delivery charge whether we go up the street or whether we go to Saratoga or Glens Falls. We feel it's just easier that way. Obviously some delivery charges we make out on.
Right.
It's close. And then some delivery charges we got to take it on the chin, but we feel that, we gain a customer. We maybe get a customer we wouldn't normally get. And we build that relationship. Because that's really where I'm at is you build that relationship with that customer and you build it one at a time. And we have hundreds of thousands of accounts in our database, but you do build it one at a time, and you keep just going from there.
Hundreds of thousands. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now let me qualify that by saying, not every one of them are buying flowers every day. Not everybody's like you where they buy flowers for their wife all the time. But that being said, when I say hundreds of thousands, a person could have ordered flowers 3 years ago and never ordered again.
Right.
And we purge that list every year or two.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have activity, we get rid of their mailing address. We keep their email, but
Mm-hmm.
we keep their mailing address, or get rid of their mailing address, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It just clogs up the data and makes
Mm-hmm.
it easier.
Gotcha. Do you do any mailings these days, or is everything electronic?
Yeah, we do mailings.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it's electronic. Yeah, I mean, as
Mm-hmm.
you might guess, it's cheaper, it's easier, it's quicker.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we do is, as a thank you,
Mm-hmm.
for certain customers, if they buy a certain dollar amount threshold, actually get a hand signed letter from me,
Mm-hmm.
and we send out hundreds of a month of
Mm.
these letters, and at the bottom of the letter has a coupon, and they can
Mm-hmm.
redeem it in store, on the phone, or online.
Mm.
They have their own redemption uh, promo code,
Mm-hmm.
and we mail that out because we feel like, okay, I could email it, but there's something when you get that in the mail
Mm-hmm.
that's a little special. So
No
we
doubt.
do that. Yeah. But other than that, other than those thank you coupons,
Mhm.
everything is digital today. Yeah.
So if I order a big flower order, I might get one of those from you, and then I get the coupon. I get a keepsake, or I could sell it with your signature on it on eBay.
I think that might be the most fruitful thing for you.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool, though. That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lost art. As you
It
know,
is.
I write some handwritten notes myself, and I feel
I know
like
you
no
do.
one does it anymore.
But I think, to go to your point, that's
Mm-hmm.
what makes it special.
Mm-hmm.
Is we all get, you could go today and buy something online from XYZ company. You'll get 10 emails that day from them.
Right.
Every
Right.
day. You
I
get
I'm
it.
overwhelmed, my friend, with
Yes.
just I even people I want to do business with and want to maintain a
You,
relationship with, they're emailing me
exactly.
10 times a day. I don't know
It,
what to do.
yeah. And you
I
know what's
can't
interesting?
block them.
You're right, because you want to do business with them. You don't want to unsubscribe. I think
Right.
one of the interesting things about that is, I struggle with this, is we don't bombard our customers with email.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's just say you've never been a customer of ours and
Mhm.
you purchase something that day. You'll get an email that says, "Thank you for your order. Here's your invoice." And then you'll get an email whatever day it was for delivery. Let's say it was that day. You'll get an email that says, "Hey, your order was delivered at 2:42.
Mhm.
Now we're done with you." We don't bombard people with email.
Mhm.
Once a month or so, we do send out an email with a great offer.
Mhm.
There's value to us having your email. We'll send out an offer that says 50% off this arrangement.
Mhm.
So, um, or sometimes we give away a free. We work with a lot of local chocolate companies, such as Saratoga Chocolate up in Saratoga Springs, and they've been a
Mm.
great partner with us. And we'll give away a free chocolate bar with an
Mhm.
arrangement. So there's some added value, but it's crazy the amount of people sometimes that will call and yell at us. Take my name out of your email list.
Even for once a month?
Exactly.
Oh,
And I
jeez.
and I want to share my experience with, well, I don't want to name any companies, but you know who they are. You can go online, you do business with somebody, and you get 75 emails in a week. So we just politely tell them, "Hey, hit unsubscribe and have a nice day." You certainly don't want to make that into a bad experience for them.
No, not at all.
No.
I mean, everyone's on sort of a bell curve,
Yeah.
but once a month sounds civilized to me.
I thought it was, but everybody has a different threshold.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Um, So, like, if you're thinking about, I'm fascinated by this because I know you know a lot about Google and a lot about digital marketing. Um, like, if you were a restaurant today, like, I have some friends that own successful restaurants, but
Mhm.
I think they struggle with it too. Like, how do you get people in the door?
Yeah.
Um,
Again, different industries are going to have different objectives when it comes to Google. For us,
mhm,
it's very little information. So some businesses want to advertise on Google so that they can provide information to a customer, so that
mhm,
at some point they'll make a purchase. For
mhm,
example, cars. So when you go in the automotive industry, I know you can buy a car online. I know you can do that, but most of us are not ever going to do that. I know Tesla, you can buy the phone or you can buy the car on your phone, and that's might be cool to somebody, but to me, if I'm going to buy a car, I got to go kick the tires, drive it, see what that's about. But in the automotive industry, they want to position themselves high on Google to provide information. I think restaurants is a combination of that. My industry, it's very little information. It's more about capturing the sale at that moment. So when we advertise on Google, we're assuming that you've already made the decision to buy. Now it's just a matter of who is the most attractive to you, who's the most convenient to you, and we try and do that through our online presence. We're constantly redoing and retooling our website. That has been a cost that we never had 25 years ago. Now it's our biggest cost of advertising is redoing our website every few months, because you constantly have to make that better.
So do you do that in-house, or do you have a company that does it for you?
We have a company that we work with. I feel they're the best in the business. They focus just on the flower industry, and FTD, which is, everybody's heard of FTD, Florist Trans World Delivery. They and Teleflora, everybody's heard of Teleflora. They are two distinct different companies. Some people put those together and they say, I want a teleflorist, and they kind of mesh that together. But there's two distinct companies. They both can offer some help, but FTD and Teleflora rank florists in their size of volume, and we happen to be in the top 100 in the country. And the company I work with, they, I believe, work with 15 or 18 of the top 100. So, and they, obviously they offer exclusivity to market. So they're not going to work with somebody else here in Albany. They have a customer in Chicago. They're not going to work with a second florist in Chicago. It'd be a conflict of interest, so to speak. So we feel we're in good hands with them. And as you kind of alluded earlier, I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn a lot. And it's not an easy world to navigate. For a guy like me, it was foreign, but you better embrace it, or you're going to be on the outside looking in. And so that's been a big part of what we do. In the old days, I think in the flower business, it was create a beautiful flower arrangement, deliver it on time, offer a fair price, and you did well. Today, you can have all those things down pat, but if you're not marketing digitally, whether it be social media or just online, you're going to be lost in the shuffle.
It's interesting. I might be one of those people on the outside looking in.
I don't think so. I think you're. I think you're since I've known you, which has been, I think we talked about this, 35 years, 30, whatever. It's been a while.
Definitely since 1990.
I've watched a few of these podcasts that you've done, and I was flattered that you would ask me, because I don't feel like I am anywhere near as interesting as a lot of your other guests. I'm really not.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I'm really not. When I told my wife Kelly that I was doing this, she says, "Oh, has he run out of people to talk to?"
Nope.
But what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for somebody to sit in that chair and you sit in this chair. Because I think then I think it needs to. I haven't seen that, because I think your story is fascinating.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people could learn a lot from you, as far as working hard. I think you have a story to tell for sure.
So I just love people. Frank, I went to this thing last night in Boston, and it was groundbreaking women in construction. So it's a part of the AGC of Boston, which is the Associated General Contractors of America, and the Massachusetts chapter, which happens to be in Boston. And, it was 3:30 and I was tired and I wanted to go home. And as you know, it's a 3-hour ride. But I decided to go to this thing and it was so good. There were probably 3 men and 200 women, which was great. I like to be in that environment. But they had a panel of 10 women, and all these women were so smart and they were so insightful and intuitive in ways like you're describing about the ways to approach clients and customers and coworkers. Like one thing that was said that just really fascinating to me, the woman who she's in management for, I think it was Turner Construction, and she said, I don't allow graffiti in the porta potties on my job sites. And all her porta potties are clean. And she says, people say, well, they want the porta potties clean for the women on the job sites. She's like, that's absurd. We want the porta potties clean for everyone on the job sites. And she said, I don't allow graffiti. And if I find it, I either have it removed or I have the porta potty itself removed. And she said, because there's a message. If you allow people to deface things, if you allow them to behave like, her words, not mine, like animals, then if you treat them like animals, they're going to behave like animals. And I was like, that's so interesting. And then she gave the example of this male subordinate who was really angry about something. And she approached the person to talk about something totally unrelated. And the guy barked in her face and bah, 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 bah. And she said, is something going on? You don't seem like yourself today. And just transform the conversation, which because you have great people skills. But my point is, I went to this thing, I integrated with all these people that at 3:30, I just wanted to go home. I wanted to get home at 6:30 and work out. But thank you for what you said. But I just feel like I love the people. And what scares me, what terrifies me, is what I was asking you about digital marketing, because I don't ever want to have that be my primary way of contacting people. And it may be that I have to at some point, but at the moment, I don't think so. And I feel like it's a lost art, like your letter writing, your people skills, my letter writing, my attempt to elevate my people skills, and especially one-on-one. These women, when it broke up, there was an hour long, like a cocktail party type of thing. It was incredible, the energy in the room. And I just feel like that's never going out of style. And the generation of kids that you and I worry about, like our kids' age, that really lack communication skills. I mean, to me, that's the coin of the realm going forward. If you have good communication skills, in addition maybe to the digital skills, I think you rule the world. But that's just my opinion.
There's no question about that. I think that good people skills or communication skills, whatever you want to call it at the time, can never be replaced. I think because the digital marketing for us, all it does is it allows us an opportunity to satisfy that customer. It doesn't guarantee anything. It gets us in the game. So when we have an ad online and somebody from, say, Nebraska wants to send flowers here in Albany, and they see our ad and they go, okay, this place looks decent. They click it and they go, oh, it's a great website, good pricing. That's what I want. They make their selection. Now it's the rest of it is up to us. So what experience do we provide for that person? Well, digitally, I guess it was okay. But now we have to deliver with the product. Then we have to have a driver who delivers that in a timely fashion, and they have to be cordial. It can't be rude. And I'm not saying that it's never happened. I get complaints from about certain drivers at some point, and you deal with it the best you can. But we try and provide that personal service as you're talking about to our customers, and I think it makes a difference.
By the way, I've been meaning to say this like on the air. I know you didn't go to college, but you have one of the best vocabularies of any human being I know. How did you get such a good vocabulary?
Yeah, I don't. I don't think I have a good vocabulary. Maybe I'm on my best behavior right now for this, but I think if we were somewhere, hanging out, I
You're at
might
the
not.
Blue Ribbon. You
Yeah,
wouldn't.
we might, right, where you and I have gone many times and
Right.
had breakfast, but okay, thank you. I think one of the things that coming particularly out of my neighborhood where I grew up, it was pretty ethnic.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of Italian, people lived in my neighborhood. There was a lot of Polish people, a lot of African American, and those were really the three groups of people that I grew up with. And as I said before, those influences were good on me, but that's only going to take you so far. And I think one of the things that I go back to when I first got into the flower business, FTD had this program where they had these seminars, and there were 3 or 4 a year, and they were held all over the country, and here and there and everywhere. And my father suggested I go. And like anything your father suggests to you, sometimes you're like, I don't want to do that. That'll be stupid. And I did end up going. The first one I ever went to was in Minneapolis, and I was 21 years old, and I was dealing in a world of people who were considered still young, but were in their late 30s, early 40s. So I was totally out of my realm. But I did, like anything, you close your mouth, open your ears and eyes, and you'll learn. And I did, and I learned how to deal with people who were older, more successful than I was, and at a different stage in life. And I continued to evolve. I came back with my tail between my legs because my dad was like, "How was it?" I was like, "It was awesome. It was great." And I think I went to, over the course of about 8 years, 9 years, I think I went to about 30 of those. So every few months I had the opportunity to, and listen, whether it's business or not, when you travel and you have the ability to travel, you learn, you grow, and you learn about other people, you learn about other things. I was being exposed to things that I had never seen before. I think the second one I went to was in Phoenix, Arizona. And to this day, I fell in love with Phoenix, the Arizona area, almost 40 years ago. And to this day, it's my wife and I's favorite place to go vacation.
I know you like to hike. Have you ever done camelback out there?
Many times. Yeah, there's two sides to camelback for you would-be hikers.
I've done it lots of times.
Have you? Well, you're in good shape, so you have no problem with it. I think one of the mistakes, and I've seen this in the hotel that we stay at, which is right at the foot of Camelback.
Is that the Phoenician?
It is the Phoenician. That's really our home away from home there. We feel very comfortable there, and have over the years gotten to know staff, and it's just
neat.
It's a neat place, and it's a nice place, as you know. And I have a quick funny story about that. I think the first time we ever hiked Camelback, we were staying at the Phoenician, and I don't know, maybe it's my personality. These guys out west, they love guys from back east. It's just a rapport you have with people, and I try to be generous with my tipping, and I feel it comes back to you. So when I saw one of the guys, "Hey, Mr. Gallo, where you going?" And my wife had shorts on, and we had our hiking gear and shoes, I should say. And he said, "Are you going to hike Camelback?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, it's about a 1.5 to 2 mile walk to the trail." So he says, "I'll give you a ride in a golf cart." So my wife, my wife is very fit. All right, she was a college athlete, and she to this day is very, very fit. She was still in the lobby of the hotel and came out, saw me sitting in a golf cart. That didn't go over too good with my wife. She said, "You're getting a ride to go take a hike." And I guess she was right. I've never done that since. She kind of embarrassed me with that. But what I would have liked was a ride back, because once you come down there, it was there's the one side of Camelback, the other side of Camelback. One is more entry level. The other one is a little more challenging. And,
right.
so yeah, we do like to hike out there. We've hiked up north. in Sedona,
Mm-hmm.
up by the canyon. We've been down there, and then we've also hiked the Phoenix area, and then down in Tucson area. So been all over, and we like it there. But to go back to the vocabulary thing,
Mm-hmm.
going to those meetings over the years really helped me learn. I always say that maybe that was my quote unquote college experience for me,
Mm-hmm.
is interacting with different people, and certainly people that were at different stages and much more successful than I was, helped me, and it motivated me too.
Me
You
too.
see people that are successful, you just want to emulate that, and
Mhm.
you want to just be like them.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And it's great to have the right word when you need it.
Yeah, but I also think, you talk about vocabulary. I think there's also the person. Let's be honest. There's also the person that tries too hard with
Right.
vocabulary. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and they inexplicably use it in the wrong
Right.
context. And
That's annoying.
yeah, it is. So
Right.
I try to, to me, I'm a plain talker. Like my wife always says, there's people who are butter knives, and then I'm like a sledgehammer.
So
So
this,
I'm pretty direct.
s- but in my business, there's something called, you used the word before, a fiduciary obligation. And one of my coworkers uses the word improperly, and he puts an L in it, and he calls it fiduciary.
Fiduciary.
And I have
Yeah,
to tell you, that's very annoying to me.
yeah. Do you correct him, or
No,
you
I
let that
just,
just slide?
nope. If he says it that way, I think it's good for him.
Oh,
I
see,
just think,
I'd have to call him out. I would, yeah, I'd have to call him out, particularly in front of people.
I just, I read a lot. And so
I
when
know you do.
people misuse words and they misuse them consistently,
Mhm.
I think that's good for them.
I guess
It's, I have a
you're a
little
nut.
bit of a mean streak.
Well, you're a nicer guy than me, because I would call their butts out on
Well,
that.
which way
Yeah.
is nice? I don't even know. But so I asked you about the sort of the pro forma question before. I'm just wondering, like, you got another 10, 15, 20 years. You and I, we can't sit still. We have to
No.
be doing something. So I assume you're going to either be doing it like you're doing now, or you're going to be more on strategy and someone else is going to be managing the company on a day-to-day basis. But where do you see, meaning percentage growth maybe, or total revenues? When you say you're the biggest, is it a secret what your revenues are, or
It's
is it common knowledge or no?
It's not common knowledge.
Okay.
No.
All right. Never mind.
How we rank that is FTD will rank florists based on order volume. Right? They
Okay.
have a handle on that.
Got it.
But that doesn't tell the whole picture of a floral
Mm-hmm.
company. We get that information or that feedback based on suppliers,
Mm-hmm.
based on consumption for what you're buying from them. I have people saying, okay, you're by far the biggest guy. So
Okay.
I mean, are we the biggest? Probably. I can't. I don't know. I'm going to say we
Okay.
are, but I can't say that with
But
all
going forward,
certainty.
like, do you have a growth rate? Like, do you see yourself growing at 10 or 15 or 20% or 5%? What
Well,
between
okay.
now
So it's
and
funny you say that. So for 2024, we're at about a 12% increase over 2023. We saw a plateauing on 23 over 22, but post COVID, the flower industry was one of those industries that did very well during COVID. There's
mm,
unfortunately some industries that were decimated by that. Um,
mm-hmm,
the spring of 2020 um, brought about unprecedented floral sales because people couldn't be together. You had
mm-hmm,
Easter, you had Mother's Day, and I can't go visit mom. So it brought out absolutely record sales with all
mm,
florists. Unfortunately, for some of the smaller guys, once that waned, they were not able to sustain and deal with the COVID restrictions and all of that. And a
mm-hmm,
lot of them went by the wayside, and that was sad to me. I'm a big competitive guy, but I any small business, I don't want to see them do well. Anybody that has the
mm.
guts to go out there and put their money and their butt on the line and open a business, I want to see them succeed. whether it's in
Mm-hmm.
my industry or not. So, um, but during COVID, we saw these unprecedented sales figures. And in 2022, it plateaued out. You couldn't keep that pace up for years. It just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
ever going to happen. But now, 2024, we're seeing another pretty good clip at this point. So we're embracing that. We're looking for new staff because we're constantly undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a hiring phase right now, looking for good quality people to come and work with us.
Understood. So we've covered a lot of ground, and I just wondered if there's anything you might like to ask me or say that we haven't talked about before we wrap up.
It's funny because people that don't know you or I intimately, some typically when we meet at the Blue Ribbon Diner, and we
Mm-hmm.
both are fairly busy guys. You're far busier than I am. I
I
always
doubt it.
reference you. Yeah, no, I always reference your planner, which I
Mm.
would love to get a shot on your show with that planner and all the
Yeah, it's
appointments that
top
you make.
secret.
I understand that. I understand that. But that being said, we go there. We meet early, typically, because I know both of
Mm-hmm.
us exercise in the morning, and then we go there, and it might be 7:30 by the time we get there, and we're
Mm-hmm.
both okay. Listen, I don't have a lot of time today.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up being about 9:30 when we wrap up
Mm-hmm.
because we end
2
up
hours.
talking and talking. Yes, talking, and we have a multitude of topics. So,
Mm-hmm.
do I have anything to add? I really don't. I know that
Mm.
all I can say is that I was very flattered that you thought of me,
Mm-hmm.
and will continue to always be not only a friend to you but a big fan of yours because
Oh,
you're a very
thank you.
inspiring
Likewise.
guy. Yeah, thank you.
Likewise. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
So this is the last question, and this is really serious.
Yeah.
The most important punctuation in the English language is the hyphen, in my view. And
Okay.
that's what's between our date of birth and our date of death. What would you want people to know about you once you're gone?
That's a good question. I think, I recently had a very dear friend from high school pass.
Mm.
She was a woman that I was close to for uh, someone in high school, but after high school, we became closer. And there was a geography problem too. She had lived in Hawaii, and but we remained very tight, very close for years and years and years. About 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Not a smoker. She actually was participated in the Ironman competition out there. People that are familiar with that is no joke, as
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Very fit woman, a nurse, and got sick. And she beat all the odds. They gave her months to live. She lasted 4 years. Um, she recently passed, and her mother paid me a compliment and said that you were one of her most loyal and trusted friends over the years. So what would I want people to know about me? It has nothing to do with my business
Mm-hmm.
because that's neither here nor there. I think that I was a loyal guy, and I'm a good friend, and I'm a good husband and a good father, and a good coworker. So really, that's really what it boils down to because, as money comes and money goes, and status comes and status can go. But those things that I just mentioned, I think stay with a person. So that's how I'd like to be remembered.
Amen. Me too.
Yeah. And you will be.
Thank you. It was
Yeah.
great to be with you, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yes,
My
sir.
pleasure.
If you enjoy the most fascinating podcast in the world, please follow on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and follow on Apple Podcast.